I am Alberto Rullan. Welcome to our channel all about equine. I'm a horse doctor. I mean a real horse doctor. I love animals my whole life, especially horses, and to be honest, I get along with horses better than I do with people. No offense. Let me talk to you about my horse Tauri. In this picture I was 6 years old. Horses are part of pretty much every memory I have as a child. When I was just 8 years old, I remember coming home from school one day. I walked in the house and saw my grandma standing there, waiting for me, with tears in her eyes. "Oh, Alberto, I have some terrible news." I said, "What happened?" "There's been an accident," she said. "Your dad was riding your horse and they were hit by a truck. He's at the hospital now." "What happened to my horse?" I said. She looked away and said, "He has a broken leg and we're waiting for someone to come and help him." The following day, I found out my horse suffered for hours and hours before he could be put to sleep. I loved that horse. He was everything to me. And I couldn't bear the thought that he suffered for so long because there was not one vet in our town. So he couldn't get any help. And so that day, I made a decision. I have to become a veterinarian. I want to show you what has been my experience when humans and horses come together. I want to talk to you about the human bond connection, especially with the heart of the horse to the heart of the human, and how I believe it could help your mission, your vision, and my mission and my vision. In a study by Dr. Ellen K. Kirk, she explains how it has been thought for many years that there is a connection between humans and their pets. However, science has had a hard time evidencing the facts that we have observed with objective evidence. Personal note, I've always wondered why the human brain and the collective thought of humanity continue to have self-doubt about facts that have been observed and unquestioned for thousands of years by equestrians. Well, at least it gives us jobs and let us gather in lectures like this, right? Sorry, I digress. In her paper, The Horse-Human Heart Interaction, she explains how when an emotionally bonded pet and owner touch and interact, their heart rhythms seem to be synchronized with each other. This is done by studying what they call the HVR, heart rate variant. In short, what happens is that when an emotion happens either in a pet or an owner, it will have its proper variants. Sad, anger, and other negative emotions produce certain variants, while happiness, joy, love produce another variants or other rhythms, which cannot be altered by the physical manifestation, meaning you cannot fake it. In her study, proved with objective evidence that also horses can be in tune with a person, not too surprising, right? It also showed that horses, which are not friends, their HVR are not synced between each other. In other words, they can be clingy. In addition, the connection between mare and foals was incredible. Again, finally, we know that what we have observed for thousands of years is true. Horses do have emotions. Now, let's expand on this study a little bit, and I'm going straight to the conclusion of this one. It also showed that horses prefer to be around people that have a more balanced, calm HRV. However, the horses do not mirror the HVR of the human. Example, if there is a stressed, cranky person, the horse not always mirrors it, so the horse does not get cranky. This is a very powerful and will set the tone for the rest of this talk, because my theory gets based on this fact. She also talks about how the calmness on the horse has a greater influence on the person than the other way around. So let me talk to you about Jorge. Jorge's journey began in Venezuela, where he discovered his deep love for horses at a young age. He dedicated his life to working with these magnificent animals, pouring his heart and soul into his passion. However, as circumstances in Venezuela grew increasingly challenging, Jorge made a courageous decision. He migrated to the United States in search of a better life, like a lot of us. He was living his dream working at a beautiful farm in Ocala. But life has a way of throwing unexpected challenges our way. Unfortunately, Jorge's job became to an end when the farm owner could no longer employ him. And that's when fate intervened. And Jorge became part of our team. His experience and dedication were remarkable. And he continued to give his best every day. But as time went on, we noticed a concerning change in Jorge. He began to tire easily, and the intense heat of Florida seemed to take a toll on him, especially considering his age of 62. Initially, we attributed to the demands of his work and the climate. However, his condition worsened. Jorge's stomach started to swell, and his fatigue became overwhelming. Concerning for his well-being, he sought medical attention. The doctors initially couldn't find any apparent cause, and he was sent back to work. But Jorge knew something wasn't right, and his health deteriorated further. He persisted in seeking answers. But finally, after a series of tests and consultations, the culprit was identified. It was his heart. And it was in critical condition. In fact, it was so severe that some doctors offered little hope, and one even suggested he should enjoy his remaining days with his loved ones. But Jorge refused to give up. Instead, he turned to one thing he knew the best: hard work. He embarked on a mission to save his own life. Doctor after doctor told him there was no hope, that his chances of survival were less than 5%. And to everyone's astonishment, 5% seemed like awesome to him. His face lit up with hope, and when he heard those odds, man, he willingly underwent a highly risky surgery with only a 5% chance of survival. The operation lasted for hours, and we anxiously awaited the phone call. When it finally came, Jorge's wife delivered the miraculous news. Against all odds, he had survived. Today, Jorge is back with us at 64 years old, working full-time at Equine Performance Innovative Center, doing what he loved the most, which is helping horses. When Jorge talks to me about his health travails, he tells me that amongst the many things Jorge always knew were stable in his life, no matter what, were God, his family, and the love for horses. Jorge's story is a testament to many inspirational topics: love, God, family, perseverance, resilience. But the one that calls my attention in order to talk about him at this talk is that he had no doubt in his mind that horses helped to heal him. No doubt in my mind either. I remember when he was back home from surgery, he would come to the clinic just to see his teammates and to see horses. Please let me work again, he used to say. I'll be back. I am back to normal, he used to say. Amazing story on how healing heart. Let me tell you another story. Let's take the story of Damien. The equine dynamics breaks all types of barriers. Horses do not care for race, color, gender, language, sex, or any status. In our clinic, horses have helped a multitude of people which are now part of our team. Team members who spoke no English before their arrival, but due to devastating political circumstances and personal tragedies in other countries, had sought for political asylum in the United States. Damien arrived to the United States about 3 years ago now. Upon arrival, he knew nothing about horses, neither English. However, his brother helped him come to the horse capital of the world and to try working with horses. Upon arrival, he couldn't communicate with us in English, he knew Spanish, and had zero skills and competencies related to horse handling and much less horse health. It was an instantaneous connection between the two, horse and people. I guess we can say their heart rate variance was immediately in sync. He saw no other way but to learn how to work with horses. Learn how to help me help horses. He had two favorite teachers. One, his name is Princeton, which is a horse that arrived at our center many years ago. After a severe infection that almost took his life, his owner decided to leave him with us to enjoy a happy retirement. The other is a very well-known player in the equine assisted therapy community. His name is Barley. Barley is a pony that was bred to become a therapy pony. However, unforeseen circumstances changed his fate, and he ended up with multiple fragments in his shoulder. Both of his shoulders, which limited his immediate purpose. After Barley came to Epic, he made a full recovery after an intense 9 months of regenerative therapy and rehabilitation. Demian started by volunteering first, then taking our basic health course. Even though he spoke no English, he was able to decipher our basic course because he had a purpose. And he found a new passion, horses. Then the intermediate course. Then learn the skills and competencies needed in order to be able to identify and treat health issues. Then became my assistant. Then a technician, where now he is one of the main technicians at Equine Performance Innovative Center. Demian is another testament on how horses help people and people help horses. So, where am I going with this? What is my idea? Now, let's take this to a step further. How can this bond be mutually beneficial? How can this bond be utilized in order to help both human and horses? You do it every day, I know that, and horses help people every day. Let me tell you another story. The TRF Shape project. I've already seen firsthand how horses help decrease criminality by the job at the correctional facilities in conjunction with the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, where there is growing evidence that horse-human bond interaction is decreasing re-entry into correctional facilities, and I have observed firsthand how the inmates help retire horses with husbandry and health topics. These are retired athletes, professionals, which we know as professional athletes might have injuries that need care for. What do I propose? I propose a mutual collaboration between people and horses. Based on research data and personal observations by myself and many other people that have been rescued and motivated by horses, I propose that we get even closer to the horse. I propose that a deeper understanding of their physiology and anatomy by their handlers, grooms, patients, as long as it's safe, obviously, will increase the affinity for horses, a sense of responsibility for the person caring for them, and perhaps motivate the person to continue into the equine health profession like myself, Jorge, and Damian have done. Get them close to the heart, I say. Let's start with the basics. Let's teach them how to take the heart rate. Something as simple as feeling for their heart. We already know their hearts are going to be sinking, right? The heart can be used as an indicator of stress, abdominal pain such as colic, dehydration. As we learned earlier today, the calmness indicator. The heart rate of the horse should be somewhere between 20 and 40 beats per minute in an adult horse. However, this can be normally higher than this in small breeds, ponies, and also some nervous horses such as Paso Fino, for example. This can be measured with a stethoscope on both the left and the right side of the horse. However, it's a bit easier on the left, like you see in the picture, by the elbow of the horse. Any person can monitor the heart rate. You don't need a specific degree to do this. This can be done with a stethoscope, like I mentioned, or it can also be done by palpating the facial artery, which is a bit more tricky. What a better way to be in sync with the heart than actually listening to the horse's heart and getting the full benefits of it. You can measure this for a whole minute, or you can gather 15 seconds of it, then you multiply it by 4, and that will give you beats per minute. In both cases, it will give you beats per minute. and that is a very good indicator of horse stress and health. Now, next step, how about measuring the respiratory rate? Lung diseases in horses are some of the most common problems encountered. Indication of obstruction, fatigue, asthma, pneumonia, and others will make the respiration increase, get deeper, get stronger, make a whistle sounds. This, even though relatively easy to track, it could potentially be confusing to gather because sometimes the nostrils will open up multiple times in a couple seconds. However, the easiest thing to do is to look at the horse. Take a breath by looking at his rib cage. You can do this for 1 whole minute, like we do with the heart, or you can gather 15 seconds data and then multiply by 4. In either case, you will get breath per minute. How about temperature? Temperature is an excellent indication of infection, systemic infection. Fun fact, did you know that horses are excellent thermoregulators? This means that it can be over 102, over 102 degrees Fahrenheit in August in Florida, and if it's a healthy horse, it will maintain a core body temperature of 99 to 100 Fahrenheit. This can be done by sweating, air exchange in the lungs happen, and it cools off the horse. So if the horse is systemically ill, it will have a temperature over 101.5, or sometimes a very low temperature, less than 90, 97 or something. In extreme cases, it could go up to 105. So, another great connector. How about lameness? Lameness is another common sign of horses' orthopedic diseases. This is one of the most common problems veterinarians are called for. And, in my opinion, one of the most common misunderstood signs by horse owners, trainers, and even veterinarians. Because this is such an important topic, I want to bring you clarity regarding lameness. Lameness is not a disease. However, it's a symptom. What does that mean? Well, just like we talk about heart rate, temperature, respiratory rate are symptoms that a horse could be sick, so lameness is a symptom that the horse has some sort of problem in the musculoskeletal system. That means the skeleton and muscles, joints, bones, ligaments, etc. Let's talk about lameness because one of the things that we can do in order to help horses is by identifying their lameness. And there are multiple ways to identify the lameness, but I want to teach you some basic ones, okay? So let's look at this horizontal line on this picture. On this horizontal line, I want you to think of the distance between the head of the horse and the horizontal line, okay? Notice in the picture of the left, there's a distance. Notice in the picture of the right, there's another distance. Now, I want you to look at which leg is touching the ground. On the picture on the left front is on the ground. On the picture of the right front is on the ground. So, if you measure the distance between the two, it's obvious that the one on the right is actually shorter, right? Now let's take this a step further. Let's go another stride. So look at the horizontal line and look at the distance between the horizontal line and the left, on the left, bottom left, right? The distance is shorter. Now look what happened when that left front is in the stand face, straight against the ground. Look at that distance, how higher it is, versus when the right front is actually on the ground. It's shorter. Now, rewind this if you need to, okay? But take a look at this. This is called down on the sound. The head will have a head bob on the sound leg. So that means that if the distance is shorter on the lame leg, then the horse is lame on the right front. Take a good look at this picture. And sure enough, look at the pathology. In this case, we have a horse that has a fracture in the shoulder. All right? Now, rewind it and do it as many times as you can to understand it. Now, let's look at the hind leg. All right? Very similar. We're going to draw a horizontal line, a hypothetical horizontal line, and we're going to measure the distance between the hip and this line. Look at the picture of the left. The left hind is on the ground, and that distance is set. Now look at the picture, the next picture. Now the right hind is fully in the air. You see that? The right hind fully in the air, and that distance is short. Now look at the next picture where the left hind is actually in the air and that distance is longer. Now, that difference was not marked. Let's go and see another stride, and this is the importance of seeing multiple strides. Look at the one bottom left. The distance between the hypothetical situation and the hip is really long when that left hind is in the ground. And now look at the distance when the right hind is in the ground. Significantly shorter. This horse is actually having a hip hike when the right hind is on the ground. And this is called the hip hike, lameness on the right hind. And sure enough, as you can see in the picture, this horse has a navicular fracture on the right hind. It's like if she doesn't want to put the weight on the right hind. That's literally what it is. Just consider when you actually are doing are sore, you kind of walk with a hip hike, and this horse sure enough has a navicular fracture. Now another way that I want to teach you today to identify lameness, super important, is the phases of the stride. The cranial phase of the stride or the caudal phase of the stride. Cranial means forward, caudal means back in this particular sense. Now, look at the right front in this particular horse on the left image. That right front is forward from an imaginary line in the center, in this case, the vertical yellow line. We call that the cranial phase of the stride. Now, look at the left front. This left front is in the back of that imaginary line. We call this caudal phase of the stride, like the screen says. Now, look at the left front now on this picture. In this case, the left front is in the front of the imaginary line, and we call that cranial phase of the stride of the left front. And now the right front is on the caudal phase of the stride. I know, rewind it as much as you can and go over it again because it's super important. Now let's look in real life. So now let's notice in this horse now, the left front is on the stand phase and the right front is on the caudal phase of the stride, like we explained earlier. Now look at the right front on the next picture and look at the left front. In this case, the left front is on the caudal phase of the stride, right? Now let's keep further. Let's keep analyzing the game. Look in this particular case. Look at that right front, how long of a caudal phase of the stride that is. Versus look at the caudal phase of the stride of the next picture. I mean, that's huge, right? Now, look at the caudal phase of the stride of the left front. That's significantly shorter. So this particular horse has an alteration on the caudal phase of the stride. And in this case, it's the right front. And sure enough, we see that fracture right there, right? So what I have taught you is how to identify basic lameness so that we can increase the understanding of the horse and at the same time the connection of the horse, because there is a big relationship between understanding and communication. I will leave you with this. Every human being deserves to interact with a horse. Every human being deserves the chance to help a horse. Every horse deserves a chance to help a human being. And every human being in need deserves the chance to meet a horse. Let's facilitate this chance. Help me to help 1 million horses.